So he had pancreatitis recently, which was a setback, and he had to stay in his regular vet hospital for about a day and a half. But he seems to be recovering from that after they gave him fluids. But they did an X-ray to see if he had any stones. He's still not acting his normal self, but I think we're getting back on track. But
It's better than what I heard growing up. I heard
He-
he had a bad stretch there.
he did. He had pancreatitis and he had to be hospitalized. And like I said, he had to have fluids, but they think that he's going to be okay. They did not find any evidence of gallstones or kidney stones or anything like that. But he's still very lethargic and acts like he's in pain every time I pick him up. He goes,
How much weight did he lose?
he lost maybe like a couple pounds this time.
Not that big to start with.
I know.
Okay. Did you get an answer? About what? What you were asking me. The last date that this board can for the election.
I have to look at a calendar. I don't. Yeah, I'd have to look at a calendar. I think it says in the ordinance something about 30 days prior to. I had to pull it up, but I don't know the exact date off the top of my head. Let me try to pull that up.
Well, we need to get going. Larry, are we ready?
Larry was born ready.
No. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this pre-meeting to order. We will, it is 5:15, and we are going to get an update on the new town hall. Mr. Williams, I'll turn it over to you.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. We've got Tim Bender with Edifice and Brent Green from Creech to give an update. Make sure this is turned on. They're here to give an update to show you the latest renderings, talk through floor plans. We're still tracking on budget. And then Brent will kind of give you all of that from the architecture and design standpoint. And then Tim will give you an update on where we are with the schedule and some potential items to come and some options related to that schedule and possibly some early procurement, which has been discussed previously. So I'll get out of the way and let Brent give you the pretty pictures. That's the fun stuff. Say.
Thanks, Sir.
Yes.
Thank you, Bobby. Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council, for allowing me to be here with you again this evening. It's an exciting presentation that we have to share with you. As usual, it's per your choice, but if you feel like asking questions as we go, please feel free. So on the screen now in front of you is a site plan update. Hopefully these things will all look relatively familiar to you as we are building on themes that we established in our early design sessions and meetings. You'll see the white building that is our proposed new town hall, that is the rectangle there on Old Statesville. You will see that we have incorporated a driveway access from Old Statesville into the parking lot in the rear that also exits onto Maxwell. The driveway is dual motion, so it is dual motion coming in off of Old Statesville Road, right? Yes. So we were able to navigate that as part of our working with DOT. The current exit onto Huntersville Concord will be right out only. Sorry, right in only. I knew I would mess that up. So effectively, what we put priority on is the ability to maintain full motion at the intersection on Old Statesville, and because of that, we were asked to limit the amount of movement coming in off of the existing drive aisle. We have 88 parking spaces. 6 of them will be set up for electronic vehicle charging. All of our ADA spaces are well within the limit, and they're right adjacent to the rear of the building. And of course, we are incorporating the courtyard, which is the space between this building that we're in and the new building as proposed. And we're going to share with you some details on that. 88. Oh, how many are ADA? 1, 2, 3, 4. I believe it's 6, but I'd have to go back. My eyes aren't quite. 1, 2, 3. maybe it's 4. It's 4. There's also a loading and unloading zone along the drive cut from Old Statesville Road that leads to the rear of the parking lot. Any other questions on the site plan before we look at the plaza in detail? I agree. So zooming in then on the space between the two buildings, the last time that we were together, we had a few things that we talked about. One was providing as much sort of flexible area that we could utilize for a variety of programs and events. But one of the other things we talked about that is a challenge was to make accessible means of egress from the rear exit here down to the plaza and down to street level. And so this design does that through a series of terraces. You'll see on the right side, if you come out of the rear of this building, you would be able to make your way plan north and then plan west down a ramp. That would put you at grade with the existing sidewalk. You could then come down towards the bottom of the page again and be out into a flat plaza area that also leads into the arcade into the building. You can also make your way down those stairs at the bottom of your page or to the right and end up again through an accessible means of travel out to the sidewalk. So this design sort of, it's universal in that it promotes all of that movement from the finished floor of this building down to the street at the rear. We have some images of that, so you'll get to see what that looks like in 3 dimensions here in a few more minutes. So I'm going to repeat something I said a minute ago. I'm hoping some of this looks relatively familiar to you. So these are the floor plans that we looked at last when we were before you. You enter, so to orient you again, same as the site plan, the bottom of your page is Old Statesville Road. You come in either up the main stairs there, or you can come in from the right-hand side through the arcade, which is at the same grade as the plaza. So again, universal entrance to the front door. You come in through a vestibule and you're into the lobby space. And we've worked as a team to promote that transparency and bring in as much light as you can sort of through that space to make that a really open, warm, and inviting. When you come in, you can turn left and you'll be into the new council chamber. That is 200 plus seats, a dais for 11. I believe we have 4 feet or so for each of you at that dais, so you won't be in quite as snug of conditions as you are now, although it works pretty well. And then we have some support spaces to the south of that for executive conference, a small kitchenette, a small staff restroom, and then there's some flexible work areas that could be for council or staff as needs require. Yes, sir.
Can you tell me where the ADA access is?
So if you, yes, sir. So if you come through, I don't know if, can I do this? Center one. Whoops, nope, that wasn't it. Oh, I'm sorry. No, I got us all messed up. So I need to go backwards here. That'll be probably, save me from myself. I apologize, folks. You'd think I would know this by now. So you can come in at the accessible means of egress off of the plaza here. When you come and turn and you're at grade from these ramps, you've made your way down, you turn, and then you go into this piece of the building, which is our arcade. That's our label for that. So you're at. What direction would you come from? I'm sorry. Yes, I'm saying, so if you're coming through that plaza and you're making your way into there, that's your accessible route to the front door. The back door is even less of a great challenge, so it's a more simple, accessible path.
Thank you.
So continuing our discussion on the first floor, on the opposite side of the transparent lobby, you have sort of these core functions. You have restrooms on either side. We do have some meeting spaces down here in this front corner. And then Parks and Recreation is the department that serves sort of as the gatekeeper and resides on the first floor. We do have some history room spaces that are still dedicated right inside of what will be the entrance from the parking, and some opportunities to display that in the lobby as well. Okay. So moving to the second floor, again, you'll see that 2-story space that is open to below in the center, which is sort of making up that main design feature in the lobby. The 2 main occupants on this floor are obviously the planning department in green on your left, and the legal department, which is in that teal shade on your right. Brown spaces that are highlighted are support spaces like conference rooms and break rooms. The restrooms stack all the way through the building, so that bar of gray spaces you see on your right will continue as we move up. And one of the things that we've done as a team is to design the flexible space that's prepared for a future upfit in pockets instead of being in one large place within the building. And the reason is that you can grow departments where they are instead of having to relocate people over time as certain departments grow, perhaps beyond projections. Okay. Moving up to the third floor, again, we have engineering and public works on the left side of the plan. Similar layout with perimeter offices with some transparency that allows light and view into center open office spaces. In this floor, we have some shared spaces pulled out into center of the plan that include break room, conference rooms, staff shower and wellness. And then IT occupies the right side of the third floor, which of course incorporates the server room and the support spaces that go along with their department. There, sorry?
What's wellness?
Wellness is just a quiet room. It's a place of respite where you can go if you just need a few minutes. It's something that the code encourages, and it's an amenity that we find ourselves putting in a lot of civic buildings in today's society. And then, of course, as I said, the IT, you can see there's pockets of flex space available on this floor as well. So as any of these departments would need to grow, we'll have the opportunity to promote that beyond even the 20-year projected horizon. And last but not least, the fourth floor. Of course, we have administration, we have finance, human resources. Those are the three primary occupants on this floor. Administration is on the right. Finance and HR sort of share that pocket of space on the left. We do have some nice conference room in the center of this floor, copy work and shared break. There's some open areas for collaboration out near the main glass, but this rounds out. Again, there's some flex space often as well on this floor to allow for growth. So we have flex space available basically on 2, 3, and 4 as any of the staffs would grow over time. So we're going to transition and start looking at images of the outside. And I want to start by saying that there was some conversation in the past about brick color. I'm going to go ahead and put a big disclaimer out right now to let you all know that that is something that we are going to choose together down the road when we have a bunch of brick panels laying out here. So be advised that if a brick looks too orange or too pink or something like that, I will certainly receive those comments, but these are not to be representative of the final brick colors. But that said, this is now standing across from 115, looking straight. I guess you're coming off the Greenway, looking straight at the facility. You'll see that we have sort of maintained both the vocabulary that relates to the existing town hall but does not match it. It incorporates materiality but is a slightly different architectural style. This has some Art Deco remnants and is really sort of an inviting and well-defined center bay with transparency within 2 bays that flank it on either side. You can see here the entrance from the stairs from 115 that we looked at in plan. This pathway here is that pathway down the arcade that is the at-grade entrance that meets your accessible requirements. We thought it'd be really fun to put 73, as the incorporated date, somewhere up there as a monument to the age and the town, the day the town was incorporated. We're going to kind of walk around the building with a few other views. This is as if I was a pedestrian view, kind of walking along the sidewalk. So I've left Town Hall, I'm going down 115, headed north. You can see this sort of layered approach to the plaza that keeps us from having one tall brick wall, but layers landscaping and allows us that ramping and grade change that we have to acquire. You see here there's a canopy on the end of the building as well, and then you get a glimpse of that arcade that you would funnel through as you would go to the front door from the plaza. Moving a little farther down, you begin to get a glimpse into the plaza itself. The scale of it is really nice. We've got some landscaping in there, but there's plenty of hardscape and plaza area for functions for, we could do some, seating outside. It could be staff area. It could be a combination of things. It could be overflow from an event that happens in the renovation to this building as well. Then you have ramps that connect you back up to the back layer parking lot as well as stairwells. This is a slightly different view. Again, as you're it's an elevated view, so not one you would get from your vehicle, but looking south from 115, and you can see the 4-story facade. And this is really intended to kind of give you that view as to how it relates to the existing town hall. Again, it is not the same architectural style, but it's certainly something that is relatable. And you can see here the 4-story facade and how it resolves itself to grade. And this is the entrance to the parking lot over here on the bottom left side of the page. Working our way again around the building, this is as if you were coming to the rear entrance, sort of walking through the pedestrian pathway. You begin to see the canopy that defines what that main component is as well. There is a landscaping buffer against the rear of the building to try and soften that some from the parking lot. And again, it's just sort of a really majestic facade that lives as the back of the building. Turning the corner again and almost getting to the end here, now we're looking between the two buildings from the rear. So now the town hall that we're in now is on your left, and the new building is on your right. And the scale of that space is really interesting. It allows us the opportunity to have enough air in there to, well, it won't feel tight, and we can still get daylight in it, but it is certainly a confined space on two sides. We're really excited about the opportunities for that space. We're going to move inside. And I want to, again, put a disclaimer out to say that these are all images that we have been working through with staff and internally, and they're representative of the current design style and finishes, but we are certainly open to your comments as we put these in front of you. But the idea was to promote openness and light and transparency in the lobby. So this is as if you have come in the main front doors, and I'm standing sort of almost in that cross aisle. I'm looking to the left, and there's that area that clearly identifies how I would enter council chamber with your backlit branded logo there. We have a light and airy stair that kind of leads you up to that second floor. And again, really just trying to promote glass and light within that space. We will have a tile or hard surface floor that will be very durable. All of that will be part of this discussion as well. This is a view standing in that same space upstairs at the other end, kind of looking down, giving you an expression of what that might feel like from a scale perspective. Again, thinking about that Art Deco influence and some of those architectural components, we went with some really simple light fixtures that are cove lit as well as chandelier type pendants that really give that space kind of a flare. And you'll see there's some windows up there. We have set up the plan so that we can have views from some of those offices on the second floor down into that lobby space as well. One more view from in here on the second floor, looking back the other direction again, just to kind of give you a full cross-section of how all of those components come together and resolve architecturally. And we certainly couldn't leave without giving you a mini glimpse of this room. So again, I think this is the architectural style and components of the chamber. It should feel like the lobby, and that we're trying to bring some of that same architectural style from the pilaster color, from the way they're treated, from the limited use of the wood panel, from the logo. And we also have windows behind you in this option, which will be wonderful. And we'll obviously do blackout shades and some other things as needed to make that work. If we need to put the town seal where the backlit H is, that would certainly be appropriate when we can work through that as a detail. But this is still a chamber that seats over 200. You can see we're showing a sort of side table up there on one end. We can put the podium ultimately off to the side like I am here or in the center. We can make it so that it can be utilized either way. But we wanted to put a couple of ideas and images about this room. We did go with one sort of specialized feature in the center, not to repeat the acoustical issues in here, but to be somewhat reminiscent of the circle that has been in the ceiling in your chamber for so long. We can do that with materials that absorb sound instead of reflect it, so it won't be quite the problem that we've had before. That's all the update that we brought for this evening. Before I transition to Tim, is there anything that anybody would like to go back and forth and discuss?
Any questions, anyone? I do have one in regards to the chamber. At what location would the drop down for visual will be?
So there will be a slot that lives in the ceiling right here above this wall, and that will come down here, not unlike what you had here. That's one solution. We've also talked about the potential for having monitors, flat screens towards the rear of the room, because when you get to a room that size, sometimes it becomes a viewing distance issue with the size of your screen. So that's our current thoughts on that.
I think it's challenging, as you can see, for the board when we're having to turn and look, so.
I
just trying to
agree.
figure out solutions to that as well.
So we want to make sure that obviously you would have convenience monitors like you have now, but there's some technology I think that you can have that does what I'm doing, that it still shows on your screen and shows the streaming that we've been introduced to. So I think that would solve maybe that last hurdle of making that more usable for you all.
Anyone else? Commissioner Boone?
Thank you. The grade in this room, is everything the same grade on this rendering that we're looking at now?
Great question. It's really subtle, you can't see it, but the area behind the dais is raised at a 6-inch platform, not unlike the one that you're on here. There is a very small ramp that happens on this side, and there is a single stair up, just like this situation, on the other side. So it is also an accessible, slightly raised platform. Yes, sir.
Anyone else? Okay,
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Okay. Brent got to do the fun stuff, look at pictures. So I want to talk a little bit about the operations of the project and where we're at. So I did put together a little slide for the schedule. As you can see, we are currently 40% complete for construction documents and budget. We have completed the schematic design phase and the design development phase. So right now, Brent and our team are working to get the documents to be permittable. So we're working together with the idea that in September, those items will be going to permit. So we'll be looking through that constructability review, budgeting one more time, going to permit in October, December. And this is a traditional path that I'm showing you right now. We would look to get a GMP, get the documents out in the street, LGC approval, to looking to build construction in March 2024 through November 2025 with an ultimate completion move-in December 2025. That is how we have designed our original schedule through this whole project. We do have the ability to look at procurement of early packages. And that's what I wanted to talk to you guys today as we look at our current schedule. I want to talk a little bit about options for procurement. So we have the ability through the design build process and state statutes where our team can work to advertise and pre-qual for certain packages to almost have an early GMP. And what we do, our team would look at what options are long lead times, things that would benefit the project, and we would advertise somewhere between 4 to 6 pre-qualified bid packages. We would look to get those bid packages late August with a bid opening in late September and come back before you in October with a commitment of somewhere between 4 and 6 bid packages. That would allow us to procure material effectively. Procuring material early allows less risk when we're actually building construction. In short, we're getting in line faster. We're providing commitment to subcontractors, manufacturers, and we're allowing that those long lead times don't affect the actual construction aspect of it. Procuring early these days allow us to allocate manpower to subcontractors. Allowing these subcontractors to have a commitment and knowing that they have time to schedule their manpower, get their material, it gives us a better number, and it also helps the construction process. Doing an early procurement option also allows us to have our subcontractors on board. As we're getting comments and final tweaks to the drawings, those subcontractors are now our partner. They're allowing us to reach out to them, get their last little ideas on constructability. If there's material that is unknown that we weren't expected, they come up with options and allows us to kind of streamline and start construction faster. And then finally, having an early package allows us to secure the budget. So we budget this project for the past 13 months, and we're going to continue to do that until we go to a GMP. But when you lock in 4 to 6 early packages, we have a signed executed contract with a subcontractor. We know what they're at and what they're locked into. And that allows us to take almost a third of the cost of the project and make sure that it's still aligning to everything we have. And it gives us time to kind of move and mend other things that we need, whether it's putting in more program because they came in under budget and getting more in the building, or mend and tweak something to make sure it hits our budget. So as we look at early procurement options, I think one of the questions you would ask is, well, what would that cost? How much are you looking to commit? And we're projecting right now that 4 to 6 packages would be somewhere around 12 to 14 million of the 30 million. But one thing to know there is it's not a committed 12 to 14 million. It's for cost of work performed. So the majority of the 12 to 14 million would be occurred when the groundbreaking, the full construction materials are on site. What we're doing is we're getting in line, we're getting engineering done, material procurement, and getting those things coming, which is 2% to 3% of the 12 to 14 million. So we've been doing this option for pre-GMP or an early procurement lately. It's been very beneficial, and I think this project would greatly be more successful if we were able to do that.
Do you have some examples
Yeah.
where it's worked?
Yeah, we did it at Pineville. That was good because we were waiting a little bit on some Charlotte water and some architectural zoning designs. And we were able to get site and concrete up. I can get you a little bit more information on the exact amount it was. They did actually three. They did one, and then they did steel and they did site, and then they did steel and concrete, and then they did the rest of the building packages actually later.
Okay. Commissioner Partee?
Do you have an estimate on the last sentence, a majority? Majority of the cost would be incurred after groundbreaking and full construction. Do you have an idea of an estimate what that would cost? And can we stay within budget of the 30 million?
Yes, so right now, our cost projections for what we have designed right now is at the 30 million. We would know even more about the 30 million of the total price of the project once we bid all packages, but bidding those 4 to 6 would even bring that in tighter to make sure that we're there. To answer your first question, how much it would be, I would say somewhere between 3 and 5%. That would be engineering, procurement, any materials that arrive before the full GMP. When I say GMP, it's a guaranteed max price. That would be our final document that we sign on that we guarantee we're delivering that project at that cost with no risk to the project unless you guys add something.
Okay. Any other questions? Commissioner Munger?
I'm just trying to figure out, is that the whole presentation?
Don't know.
Yep, okay. One of the questions I had, was actually for Anthony right off the bat, was how many employees will be in this new building day one?
That would be a tough question, because if it's projected to be completed December 2025, I don't know what we're at between now and then, but just basically, every person in this building and every person over on the 3rd floor will move into this building.
What's that number?
Oh, gosh, Bobby, you'll have to help me out, Jackie, probably.
So 50-ish?
Yep.
Okay, and one of the things we've talked about is this being the long-term solution. How many offices and/or cubicles exist in this proposal?
So it was designed for current plus 25% growth, and then the flex space that is already finished, carpet down, you can either add cubicles or build an office, was another what percent?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So the program was written at a 20-year growth horizon. So the hard walls and offices that are in this are to manage today's staff load plus a 20-year horizon. Those blue flex spaces that you see beyond that are to account for beyond the 20-year horizon. So in our mind, this is a 40-ish year solution, which should put you all in a position where this shouldn't have to be a discussion for a long period of time. I don't have the exact number, I apologize. I can sit over here and count.
I'm good with approximates.
And the goal here was put everybody in one building in this solution. You have to remember, you still have the entire space over top of DPK for some future board to decide to do with. His setup for offices. If I'll be dead twice before we fill this building, plus that space over there probably. I mean, that's just.
Yeah, is it safe to say at some point we would have 80 people in this building? In a building in this location?
I'm sorry.
Is it safe to say that that number would probably hit 80 at some point? 80 people?
Brent? 450, 25%, and then, yeah, 80, 85, yeah.
Okay. 88 parking spaces. When are we building the parking garage?
I can't answer that question. That's not part of our scope.
Nor should you. We have a parking garage across the street. We have a parking lot here. We're going to have 88 people. We don't have enough parking spaces for this building. There will be an additional expenditure in the future to build that parking garage. Just calling it out. Thank you.
Commissioner Kidwell.
While we're calling out parking, if you go downtown Charlotte to the government center, they got parking garage right across the street with no parking for any of their staff to park right under there. They do have an underground parking for some of the elected officials as well. We're not going to do that here.
Anything else? Any other questions?
We had just one more detail on this, and I'll let Tim, he's probably a little better to eloquently state this, but we do have kind of it would essentially be a tool and a process and a form for that pre-qualification. That's something the board wants us to do to pursue these early packages. Our purchasing policy and state statute requires that the board adopt the tool and the process for the criteria, rather, for evaluating those pre-qualified subcontractors. So if the board would like to add that tonight, we have this information available to share. I'll defer to Emily if you have any other questions about the process, but essentially it's a form that just lays out what people are signing up for. It allows Edifice to intake that information. It allows recruitment of minority and women-owned businesses. We'll post it on the website for, it's supposed to be minimum of 7 days. We'll have it posted the whole period that it's out there. But this is the critical point and the step to allow us to do that pre-qualification.
It also allows us to do our project reach out for manufacturers and contractors.
And then, as Tim said, it also allows them to reach out to product manufacturers, subcontractors as well, let them further refine that budget.
So is the request to do all 6 early bid trade packages? It says 4 to 6, and that's why I'm asking.
Yeah, the reason we did 4 to 6 is we were trying to target the cost to stay around 12 to 14. We wanted to stay around a third of the price. And those are, we come up with about 5 that are going to be the benefit of the advantages of getting material. So I would say 6 right now. And anything, if we did 6 and 1 came in, we do not have to roll that into first GMP.
Okay.
So Mayor, what I would just add on, if we didn't want to make any assumptions, what you have before you, if the board wants to move forward with early procurement option, what we would suggest is adding the document that Bobby has, that may have passed out to you, to the agenda tonight, which would allow us, obviously, to meet the statutes, as Emily would say, but allows us to move forward towards the early procurement option.
Correct.
That's ultimately what we would be doing. We didn't want to make any assumptions, so we obviously didn't put that on the agenda until you saw this tonight. But if you want to move in that direction and the majority wants to do that, that's what we recommend.
Okay. Any discussions around adding that to the agenda this evening?
When we get to it, I can make a motion to add it so we can have the conversation and see the details.
Thank you.
Just as a point of clarification, any pre-qualification would require the board to approve the criteria and tool. It wouldn't just be for pre-qualification of early bid packages. I just want to make that clear, that you all would have to approve the tool regardless of moving forward in this early bid package. It would be for all pre-qualification.
All right. If there is no further questions, I guess we will then, looks like we may be adding it to the agenda for further discussion. All right, well, with that, we have about 13 minutes until 6 o'clock. So the board will be back at 6 for a regularly scheduled meeting. Thank you.